ChatGerry from N=1 to N=M Biomedical Systems and Lifestyle Survival. Number 1642, May 15, 2026. Gerald C. EclaireMD Foundation. Category: Lifestyle Medicine. Special note: this research journal is based on my personal research using data from my own body and is provided for educational purposes only. It does not constitute medical advice and should not be interpreted as guidance from medical professionals. Preface: over the past 17 years, I gradually developed a very different way of looking at chronic disease and human survival. Traditional medicine usually studies large groups of people and calculates statistical averages. Chose a different direction. I studied one biomedical system in extreme detail, my own body data. First, my work was purely N=1, one person, one patient, one continuously changing biomedical system. Many people automatically assume this kind of approach must be narrow. But I gradually realized the important issue is not only how many patients you study. The key issue is how much information, longitudinal observation, and dynamic system behavior you can observe from one human life over a long period of time. Traditional medicine often collects a few blood tests every several months, office blood pressure readings, and hospital records after major events. My approach became very different. Over 17 years, I collected more than 4 million biomedical data points, including high-frequency glucose measurements, repeated blood pressure measurements, lifestyle behavior, food intake, exercise, sleep, symptoms, and stress observations. This long-term data became like a flight recorder for my body. It allowed me to observe delayed effects, interaction among variables, warning signals, and gradual movement toward danger. A single snapshot cannot show these things. A long movie can. The standard 2-hour movie contains approximately 172,800 individual from snapshots of filmed at 2 frames per second, over time. I never viewed N=1 and N=M as enemies. They simply observed different layers of the same biomedical system. Instead, I now believe both macro and micro views are necessary. Large population studies help us understand common biomedical rules shared by human beings, human blood chemistry, organ function, vascular systems, and many pathophysiological processes are actually very similar across people. However, individual trajectories are also extremely important. Lifestyle, personality, discipline, stress, obesity, sleep, aging, diabetes history, and long-term loading history can create very different outcomes inside each person's biomedical system. Therefore, my newer direction became more integrative: averages plus trajectories, statistics plus mechanisms, macro patterns plus microdynamic behavior. This is very similar to engineering. A bridge has global structural behavior, but one small fatigued crack can still destroy the entire structure. Human disease behaves in a similar way. After surviving obesity, severe type 2 diabetes, 5 heart attacks, kidney failure, neuropathy, retinopathy, and finally a hemorrhagic stroke, I became increasingly interested in the full chain of failure inside the biomedical system. In medicine, I wanted to know what caused the damage, how long the damage accumulated, what weakened the biosystem, and what finally triggered the collapse. Very often, the final event is not caused by one isolated trigger. The trigger is only the final force applied to an already weakened structure. For example, in my own case, I believe long-term glucose damage from 36 years of diabetes gradually weakened my brain's small blood vessels. Later, on June 21, 2025, a single acute systolic blood pressure spike at 175 mmHg likely became the final trigger of my hemorrhagic stroke. In simple words, glucose weakened the material and blood pressure triggered TH rupture. This engineering-style thinking later became part of my TSI stroke risk model. The formula did not come only from mathematics. It was inspired by Newton's law of motion, F=m*A, and came from years of observing my own body before and after my stroke. One important engineering idea I carried into medicine is loading history. A bridge does not collapse only because the last truck was too heavy. It collapses because thousands of previous trucks slowly weaken the structure over many years. Human disease behaves similarly. Over time, something unexpected also happened. My work slowly expanded beyond pure N=1 self-study. People from Japan, Taiwan, the United States, and other countries began listening to my YouTube health channel, ChatGerry. Through AI translated voice recordings and sending me feedback, some people lowered their glucose and HbA1c levels. Some improved their lifestyle habits, motivation, and weight control. One audience member reduced his HbA1c from 10% to 7% over 3 years by following the lifestyle principles I discussed. This emotionally changed my feeling about my work. What began as a self-survival lighthouse slowly became useful to other people as well. Over time, I also moved away from traditional academic publishing. Modern medicine is still highly divided into separate specialties and heavily dependent on statistics. My work combines mathematics, engineering, pathophysiology, psychology, system behavior, and lifestyle medicine together. It does not fit neatly into one academic box. Most importantly, those gatekeepers wasted my most valuable asset, my remaining lifetime. Therefore, I began communicating directly through YouTube, voice translation, and social media. Surprisingly, many ordinary patients understood my ideas faster than some professionals because they were already living through chronic disease themselves. Another meaningful part of this journey became knowledge philanthropy. I supported underprivileged students to help organize, translate, and distribute my work online. In return, they received tuition support and living support through their own labor while maintaining their dignity and self-respect. Today, at age 79, I no longer care much about fame, titles, or academic recognition. What matters more to me is whether my learned knowledge can help other people suffer less, understand their bodies better, and survive longer. In many ways, I often feel my medical research resembles forensic investigation. A police investigator wants to know not only that a person died, but also what happened, what warning signs appeared earlier, what factors slowly accumulated, and what finally triggered the event. That is exactly how I approach my disease research work. My papers are not simply academic output. They are the learning notes from one human life logbook trying to understand survival, suffering, neuroplasticity, discipline, aging, and biomedical system failure. My work began as N1 because I was trying to save myself, but through sharing and feedback, it gradually moved toward N=M in a very different meaning from traditional medical research. Circle. At least for now. These learning notes honestly record one person's long journey trying to understand how human beings survive. This content is provided for educational reference only and does not constitute medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is created. You may share this summary freely, but it must not be altered, edited, or republished as your own. All intellectual property rights and copyrights for this article and its related materials belong to the author, Gerald C.